And welcome to today's video. Coming up is the video version of the RV Show USA radio show with some of my favorite and most popular influencers on social media. I hope you'll check them out. You'll find a link to them in the description below. And make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss a thing. Let's go ahead and get started.
The RV Show USA. Start living the RV dream today.
You know, one of the great things about RVing is that there are so many different options you can choose from to experience. So no matter what you're looking for, from a large, modern, typically crowded campground with all the amenities, all the way to the opposite end of the spectrum, which is boondocking. But what does it mean to actually boondock? I mean, what's the difference between, say, boondocking and dry camping? Well, we're about to get into all the nuances of boondocking in this segment, and there's a lot to cover. Now, one camper that knows a lot about boondocking is a full-time RVer with a YouTube channel called Creativity RV. Her name is Robin Barrett. Now, Robin is an adventurous person. She is. She's like so many other people today who were somewhat disillusioned by a traditional lifestyle, being tethered to her job, I guess, working hard and feeling somewhat empty. Empty, I think, because of the busyness of life. And she wanted so much more. So without knowing a thing about RVing and never even being in an RV, Robin bought a Class B van and she decided to become what's called a digital nomad, where she literally lives on the road, travels, works, and explores. And in the years since she started, she has found more happiness than ever before. Now, one of the things Robin has learned a lot about is the subject of boondocking. Here she is with what she's calling RV camp without a hookup. How RV camping changed my life.
I'm out in the middle of nowhere boondocking. Now that means I am staying on public land in my RV, usually for free. Now, a lot of people don't know about this, so if this is a new concept for you, you're not alone. I didn't know about it until I stumbled across it on YouTube one day and saw this solo female RVer driving her RV out into the desert, and I was thinking, what is she doing? Where is she going? And then when she set up camp, I thought, is that legal? There are a million of us out here. And if you haven't heard about this life, it might be because most of us keep to ourselves. And we go into a town, we get supplies, we do what we need to do like everybody else, and then we go home. But home for us is usually down a dirt road in the national forest or in the desert or in Army Corps of Engineer land, all kinds of places. And we set up camp and we can usually stay up to 2 weeks there for free. Now, boondocking sounds great. And it may sound great that it's free, but there are things that go into it. So today, I'm going to break it all down for you and tell you why, how, and where I boondock. Let's start with a couple of definitions because I think some of them can be a little bit confusing. Boondocking means that you're going out and camping, usually in public areas, without an RV park kind of a hookup. So you don't have a water connection, you don't have an electrical connection, you don't have a sewer connection, there are no trash cans. You have to be completely self-sufficient. So there is some work that goes into it. So when I say boondocking on public lands is free, it is free to camp here, but most of us have to make an investment into an RV that we can live in full time, that supplies us with all the power that we need, the water that we need, and the ability to pack out all of our trash until we get back to civilization. You may also have heard the term primitive camping. Primitive camping is just like boondocking, except that when you go into the Bureau of Land Management website, bln.gov, and you read about areas where you can go recreate for free, which means camp, they call it primitive camping. To them, primitive camping, again, means camping with no hookup. And what they're basically telling you is that you have to be self-sufficient. The next term you might see is something called dispersed camping. Dispersed camping is the same thing, except that it's basically boondocking on national forest land. So if you go to the National Forest website, where you can see all the places that you can camp, totally legal, for free, usually up to about 14 days, you're going to see that they call this dispersed camping, not to make it more confusing. So boondocking, primitive camping, dispersed camping, all the same thing. Then you're going to see a term called dry camping. Now, a lot of people, as you can imagine, start to use these terms interchangeably, but dry camping is a little bit different. You're not necessarily out in the middle of nowhere. Maybe you're at a national forest campground where you have a reservation and you pull into a spot and you're there dry camping without an electrical hookup, without water at your site, without sewer at your site. You might have access to a water spigot or a trash can or a dump site. Every campground is different, but most people consider that dry camping. Now, these probably shouldn't be confused with stealth camping, which a lot of people do. People are living in their RVs or vans in cities a lot of times because they can't afford the rent or because they're just traveling through and they want to stay in their house. They don't want to stay in a hotel. Now, this is frowned upon in some jurisdictions, so they call it stealth camping because you usually want to be a little bit quiet inside so people don't call and say there's some vagrant sleeping on the street in front of their house. And then you're going to hear people talk about overnight camping and overnight parking. That's like what you do at a harvest host. When you go to visit one of the great hosts, have an experience and stay the night in your own rig, usually without a hookup. That's the same thing as if you went to a Walmart or a truck stop or a rest area. These are all places where you can overnight camp or overnight park. They really are the same thing, except that people used to say overnight camping a lot, and then the word camping got kind of a stigma because of people that were like living in encampments on city blocks or in Walmart parking lots. And so a lot of these entities want you to know that you're not supposed to camp. Like if you go to a rest area, for example, you may see something that says no camping. Well, what that means is they don't want you putting out your camp chairs and putting out your grill and setting up for days at a time. But if you go to the state websites, then it will tell you that they want you to be safe, that you need to pull over and you can stay to get rest so you're safe to get back on the road. So overnight parking is just fine. Now that seems like a lot of definitions, right? Well, maybe it's because there's so much camping opportunity in the United States. Did you know that over 50% of this country is public land? And if you go into any of those government websites, they're going to say that one of the purposes of public land is recreation. And that's us. Now, let me tell you how boondocking literally changed my life. I was living in the corporate world and was trying to find a way out so that I could be a writer and a painter, which is what I was meant to do. But I couldn't figure out a way to do that and pay the bills. And then I stumbled across boondocking RV life and I crunched the numbers. And I realized that if I boondocked, I could make a living as a writer. Now, it took a couple of years of planning. It's not like I fell over into an RV and was able to do this. I wasn't. Quit that corporate job, took a part-time job and worked the other part of the time creating some kind of a mobile income for myself, paid off all my debt and saved up for a rig that I could buy so I wouldn't have a payment. That's me. Everybody's different. But once I did that, I discovered that my expenses were really low. So the why for me is that boondocking allowed me to live the life that I wanted to live without having to be tethered to a job in one location. There are so many opportunities out there for people to work from the road now. It's crazy. So 10 years ago, this wasn't possible for a lot of us, but now it is. Now let me tell you how I do it. First of all, I have a great boondocking power system. I just had one installed inside of the Airstream from Battleborn and Dragonfly Energy. And so when I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, it's okay. I have enough power stored in here that I can work on my big computer and I can do everything that I need to do, including running my Starlink and work remotely just like anybody else. It is an investment to have that kind of a system put in, but for me, I'm saving so much on rent that it's worth it. The other big three things you have to worry about are water, trash, and sewer. And it takes some time to get into the groove. I know now, after a few years, exactly how much water it takes me to shower and do dishes and how long I can camp out in the wilderness without having to go get more water and dump my tanks. But the big problem a lot of the time is trash, because there aren't trash cans just sitting around here. So if you're going to accumulate a lot of trash over the 2 weeks, your house and your car are going to be full of stinky bags. So you have to learn some strategies to not have that much trash. There are a lot of apps and programs. I like RV Trip Wizard if I'm trying to stay in a campground or an RV park. I like Harvest Hosts because I take advantage of other host locations while I'm driving from one place to another all year long. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. And then to find boondocking places, I usually use Campendium and iOverlander. And where can you boondock? Well, some places are better than others. Like I said, more than half of the country is available for recreation, but most of it is on the West Coast. In fact, Nevada has more public land than any other state. But if you get over to like Maine or Pennsylvania, it does get a little bit harder to find big areas of public land where you can boondock. Luckily, though, there are harvest houses all over the place. I'm going to maple tree farms and wineries and go-kart places and car museums. Can't wait. It makes my travel so much more fun. And I know some of you are wondering what it's like to be out here by myself in the wilderness. Well, you know what? I really love it. It's not a lot different than being solo in real life. My life looks just like it did then. I wake up, I take a shower, I make breakfast, I go to work, and then I get to go sit outside, but my backyard is just fabulous. And if I want to see other people, it's really no big deal. I camp with other people, in groups of people, all the time. But then when I want to split off and be by myself, I can. And unlike in an RV park, I don't feel like I'm in a fishbowl. I'm literally surrounded by trees and mountains right here. I don't see another person. And that's the way I personally like it. And one of the most common questions I get is, do you feel safe? Or are you safe out there? Or aren't you scared? I feel safe. And I'm not usually scared. Now, I try and be really aware of my surroundings. But that's the same for me here as it would be if I still lived in a city. And I share my location all the time with about 4 people that can always see where I am and they check in on me. And I'm ready to defend myself in here if I need to, just like I would if I were walking down a city street or if I were in an apartment. And look, I didn't grow up doing this. I had never been in an RV until I bought one, flew out to pick it up, and started living in it full time. And I figured it all out. And again, that was 6 years ago, and I absolutely love it. I don't see myself going off the road anytime soon. I mean, my feeling is life is short, and there's so much to do and so much to go see. And for me, there's no better way to do that than boondocking across the country in an RV.
With so much public land available out west, that's where you'll find an abundance of opportunities for boondocking. Dry camping, primitive camping, whatever you'd like to call it, it's off the grid. Those options for having a peaceful camping experience. As Robin will tell you, there are some rules that you'll need to follow. Some are regulations, depending upon where you're going to actually be camping. But there are also some unwritten rules of common sense, of acting responsibly, and as they say, leave it better than you found it. In closing, Robin Barrett she's a true inspiration for so many people, especially women who dream of doing something similar to what she has done and become an RV nomad. If you've not yet discovered her on YouTube, I hope you will. Her channel is called Creativity RV. She releases, I think, at least one video a week, and I think she does a terrific job. Robin is just another example of someone with a big dream, a dream of living the RV life, and the courage to go after it. You can find out more about Robin on YouTube at Creativity RV, or if it's easier, just link over to her from our website at thervshowusa.com. Hey, it's the RV Wingman. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss a video, and click the word more in the description below for show links and learn how we can stay connected. Until next time, be safe, have fun, play nice, and don't leave your good manners at home.